Hello and welcome to this masterclass in story selling. This is a masterclass to help you really gain clarity on your goals for the coming year. It's something to revisit maybe several times. It's great to do at the beginning of the year, but it's also great to revisit. The reason we want to do it at the beginning of the year is that we want to be able to look back at the end of the year and see how that clarity we had from this session has helped us gain our goals for the year. So a little bit about me. My name is Moira Barnes and I'm from Moira Barnes Sales Consultancy. My business is about enabling, empowering small and medium-sized micro business owners with their sales ability. So for those people who feel sales is a bit icky, a bit uncomfortable, then my aim is to help you not feel like that and feel that sales is just a conversation and help you understand that sales is about helping other people. So today's session, as I say, is about story selling. A little bit about where I've come from, where my background is. I've worked in sales for over 30 years now. I started off as a Saturday girl in a department store, not knowing anything about selling, doing it all wrong. And from the various different trainings that I've had throughout the year, then I've definitely got my own technique of doing things, but I've learned things, and I know that people sometimes think that you have to be a natural born salesperson, but it is something that you can learn to do and find your groove, find your way of doing it. So I've worked at the likes of the BBC, and they had gold standard training there. They were accredited for the training that they provided. One of my most memorable training sessions was with a RADA actor, and that was a really interesting session. And I've then worked, so from the BBC, I went and worked at Hearst UK, which is another publishing company, and worked on different brands and magazines. So I've worked in retail, I've worked in hospitality, I've worked in media for 16 years. I've also run my own businesses. So I've got a very broad knowledge base to work from for sales. So that is where I can come and help people and facilitate them, get them feeling more confident about sales. I don't do it for people. I want them to learn how to do it themselves and to feel comfortable doing it. Just that it makes it easier for your business to grow and scale in that case. So today we're going to talk about story selling, and this is where I want you to start writing your story for the coming year, so for 2021. And the reason why story selling is really powerful and is really important for you to use in your business is it really helps people cement what your business can do for them in their heads. If you just this stat here, if you just present them with some stats, with some data and statistics, the likelihood is that when they walk away, they're going to maybe remember about 5 to 10% of everything that you've tried to tell them. Whereas if you wrap all that, I guess, what it is that you can do and what it is you can bring to them into a story, then they're going to be able to retain so much more information than they could beforehand. So, I mean, this is, of people that you've worked with, testimonials that you get from people. You can tell the story of, well, I was working with somebody and they felt really fearful about this subject matter, and then after a few weeks working with me, they were able to go out there and grow their business and do their sales strategy themselves, whatever it is. Or if you're a product-based business, I had a customer who came to me that was in a real dilemma. They needed to get a very specific gift for somebody who was very hard to buy for, and I was able to help them come up with a really bespoke, beautiful gift that is a one of a kind and has really made that celebration that they needed to buy a gift for really memorable for the person that they were buying for. So wrapping it up into, rather than saying I make memorable one of a kind pieces, it's about wrapping it up into something that will make it really stick in people's minds. So a little bit of background about storytelling. Storytelling has been around for eons, for absolutely eons, hasn't it? So the word history, so for those of you who did history at school, I can remember Mr. Folks, our history teacher in year one, telling us that history came from the fact that it was his story, so that things weren't written down years gone by. It was all about the father passing the story on to the son, who passed it on to their son, and so on and so on. And that is the same for story selling, storytelling as a whole is something, the messages that, I've got on the screen here about Pixar, the messages in movies are they're kind of reinventing the wheel all the time. There's love, there's loss, there's things to learn, and so it's telling it in a different way to make that very specific to that particular audience. So the reason I've got Pixar here on the screen is that Emma Coates, who is was one of their chief story writers, has written a blog post about 21 different pointers for writing stories. I'm only going to touch on 6 today. You're very welcome to go away and Google Emma Coates Pixar storytelling, and that will bring up all the other entries there. But I've picked out the 6 that I think are really key when it comes to story selling. The reason why Pixar are so successful is because they use a framework, a very specific framework that I'll come on to talk about in a little while. But they have been incredibly successful. So they started about 1976, a lot earlier than I thought they had. They've won 16 to date. They've won 16 Academy Awards, 10 Golden Globes, and 11 Grammy Awards. Their films are, if you've not seen them, please make some time. There's one out there, my God, it's just come out, Soul. Wow, it's an amazing movie. If you've got Disney Plus, go and have a watch of that. It's a really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story, and it's been created with Disney and Pixar. And what I want you to take away from this is that when you think of Disney Pixar movies, you've always got a favorite. So my favorite is Toy Story, because I remember I was a nanny at one point in my life. I went over to America and lived in America for a year and a half, couple of years, and I was a nanny to a lovely family there, and I took the then 6-year-old boy to cinema to see Toy Story when it first came out, and it was just really magical and memorable and just wonderful. And now my children have watched all 4 of the Toy Story movies, and they never get old. I love watching them again and again, and that is the amazing talent of Pixar, is that it's a film that you can watch again and again and again. You can pick different messages up from watching that film. So Emma Coates has come up with 22 points. I'm just going to focus on 6 points today to help you in selling. So we already know that telling stories will help people retain much more information. So the 6 points that I want you to really think about when you are constructing your sales story, this is going to kind of be a masterclass in 2 parts, really. So the first part here is that how you can use storytelling in your selling, in your sales. And the second part is I want you to construct a little story for one of your customers, and what the outcome of you want your customer to have at the end of your story. So this first part, we're going to talk about why point 1 of Emma Coates is great stories are universal. So as I say, Pixar movies are globally accepted as a fantastic sorry, my cat has just walked in the room. Apologies for that. So yeah, great stories are universal and are seen across the world by people, and they get different messages from it. And your story would be something that people are really interested in. So, why did you start your business? What was the reason you took your business up? For me, it was I was already had my business and I was going out and networking with people, and realized that when there were some people that they were very passionate about their businesses, but the minute you asked them about their business, they got really almost choked up and didn't know what to say. And I realized that I had the expertise and experience of 30 years of selling, that I could help people. And that is my why. That is where I came from. So that is my story. And that story is, doesn't just appeal to somebody who's looking to work with me, but that story is a really nice story that people, are happy to hear about again and again and again. It doesn't get old. It's why I started my business. So why did you start your business? If you've got a really good story, then get out there and tell people about what your story is. So great stories have a clear structure and purpose. So this is very, very much part of where Pixar come from. They've got a very clear, they call it a skeleton structure that they work to. And what that does is it does walk you through exactly what it is, your end goal is, what is the purpose, what is the reason. And so for you, your story, your business, so your business is the story in these scenarios. Your story needs to have a very clear structure, a clear strategy, a clear purpose about why you're doing your business, what you want to get from your business, what you feel your business will give for people, and be very, very clear on this. And don't get too swamped in lots of data. And I mean, so I'm working at the moment on a business plan. Well, that's just great, isn't it? My cat's just joined this video training. Wonderful. Excuse me. Didn't want to sit on my knee before when I wanted her to sit on my knee, but there you go. She joins in on a training session. So so have it. I'm working on this business plan at the moment. I need a business plan for something that I'm doing. I'm not a huge fan of those business plans, because I feel that sometimes, you can write a business plan and it can just get stuck in a drawer. So I use a business model canvas. It's a one pager. It's very clear. You can go in and, business plans evolve, don't they? But what I like about this business plan that I've done is that there's the executive summary at the beginning. And to me, that kind of is, this is what the structure of my business is. This is the purpose of my business. So being very clear and concise in that, in your business. Great stories have a character to root for. So in this scenario, the character we want people to root for is you. So you want people to get to know you. People buy people. I do this in other trainings that I do. It's about building relationships. It's really important that you build relationships with people, and they might not necessarily be your perfect customer that you're building a relationship with, but they may know somebody who knows somebody who needs your services. So it's really important that people get to know you as the central character in your business. So even if you're a solo business owner, that's really important. Even if you've got a bigger business and you've got employees, they need to know you, the founder, the reason why this business started, and the character behind that, the values behind that person who started that business is really important. So you want to make sure that people find out and know about you and who you are and what you do. And I know that it's something really important that you work on your brand values and you're really clear on what they are, and you portray them in everything that you do, whether that's your marketing, whether that's your email signature, whether that's the way you answer the phone when somebody calls you up. You want people to root for you and to know you and to really like you. Point 4 is great stories appeal to our deepest emotions. So again, this is something that I've talked about in other trainings, if you've seen those, that you have different parts of your brain that you want people to engage with. So there's the very logical part of your brain that will make the logical decisions about when you're out shopping, and then there's the limbic part of your brain, which is where all the emotional decisions are made in your brain. So I liken it to, for me, I'm a woman. I love handbags and shoes. I don't buy them as much as I used to, but I would see a handbag that I really, really wanted, and my rational part of my brain would say, well, you can't afford that, that's ridiculous. But my emotional part of my brain would say things like, oh, but I really need it. My life won't be complete unless I have that item. And that is really what you're wanting to do in this story selling, is that you want to create a story around your business. This is real life stories, but what is it that your product or your service can do for the person, on a really emotional level? How is it going to make them feel? Is it going to empower them? Is it going to make them feel confident? Is it that it's going to calm them down if it's a aromatherapy oils, for example? If you're a product-based seller, is it going to help them feel calmer and more rested? If it's a service-based business, are you going to take away an admin nightmare that people have? Are you going to help them with their social media so it's not something they have to really find the emotion, connect with that emotion of that customer when you're doing your story selling, and that will make it easy if they can see the positive result of working with you or buying from you. If they can see that in their mind, then the limbic part of their brain will say, yeah, let's go for this. This is going to work for us. Point number 5 is great stories are surprising and unexpected. So how can you be surprising and unexpected? What I want you to take from this element is that I want you to understand that in everything you do. So as I said about, your brand, you want your brand values to show through on everything you do. And I want that to be the case in this point as well, is how can you be surprising and unexpected? Is it a case of you send a handwritten note to your customers after they've bought from you to say thank you for buying, so that they know that it's a real person that they've bought from? Is it you follow up with, if they've referred a friend to your business, is there a way you can send them a voucher to something, a Starbucks coffee, a Costa gift card, so that they can go, how can you make people remember you, make yourself memorable and surprising? So think of different ways you can do that, from even before, they've gone to spend with you. Is there something that you can do to them that is because you've built up this relationship with them, and you know them, and you know that they like a particular something, they've not bought from you yet, and it's not in a Machiavellian way, like, I'm going to do this because the end result is going to be this for me. Yes, you want them as a customer, but you're surprising them with something that they're going to like, because you want to be their friend. You want to get to know them better. You want to make that emotional connection again. So how can you have a think about how can you be surprising, and what can you do that is unexpected? Because obviously, you can go out there and buy from Amazon, but you're never going to get a handwritten note from Amazon saying thank you for shopping with me. And the last point, and as I say, please Google Emma Coates Pixar, and you will get the whole 21 points that she had for storytelling. These are the points to say that I've picked out for story selling. But the final one is great stories are very simple and focused. And that is what I want you to do, is I want you to think about your goals for your business for this year in a really simple way. So we all know about SMART goals, and SMART goals are really great because they really make you think about how you're going to get this really big goal. You've got a really big goal that you want at the end of the year. Well, that's fine, but you're going to have to chop it up into small, manageable pieces to get you to that goal. And it will help you keep you focused. So you could, if your goal is to get 100 grand by the end of the year, how are you going to split that up? Well, you could split that up into quarters. So actually 100 grand, over the year, I need to get 25 grand in each quarter. Well, each quarter has 3 months. So then how do I break it down? What do I need to bring in every month? So break down, keep your focus there by keeping it very simple. So make sure that your story for 2021, your goal for 2021 is simple and focused. So have a think about, go away and have a think about all these different points on how you can work your story for 2021. So that is, in a very brief nutshell, is the 6 points I want you to think about when you're thinking about your business. So it's another way of thinking about your business, another way of thinking about how you're going to plan out your goals. What is it you're going to do that's going to make all these points quite salient in your business, and take you forward? The next part of the training, I'm just going to run back through those 6 points just so we cover that. So great stories are universal. Great stories have a clear structure and purpose. Great stories have a character to root for. Great stories appeal to our deepest emotions. I mean, think about when you watch a movie, how it really makes you feel at the end of it. Some movies you'll forget about, but the movies that you remember time and time again, oh my God, I felt so happy, joyful, sad, emotional, really appeals to those deep emotions that we have. Great stories are surprising and unexpected. What is it you're going to do that's going to make you surprising and expected? And great stories have that simple focus to help you get to your goals. So that's the 6 points of story selling. Now, what I want us to do is to think slightly different. So that is for you to think about setting your goals for this year, all the different points that you can take from those story selling, and how you can build your sales story going out there for your customers. What we're going to do here now is we're going to create a very short, it's called the Pixar pitch, but it's a very short story skeleton of what your business does for your customers. So I want you to think of this from the point of view of the character is your customer, and they've got a problem and they need somebody to help them fix that problem, and you're the person that's going to fix that. And at the end of the story, you want them to have a real takeaway moment of the happy ever after. What is your happy ever after for your customers? So that's what we're going to do in this part. And please, pause the video, do the work, come back to it at the end, and take it, the pace that you want to take it. So the Pixar pitch, again, Emma Coates, this is the story skeleton that Pixar use on every single one of their movies. I've got to put a disclaimer up here in that I'm about to ruin the ending of Finding Nemo. So if you've not seen Finding Nemo, you need to look away when I go through this section. I love Finding Nemo. It's a great story, and we're going to use that as our example today. So this is the story skeleton that is used by Pixar. So multi-billion-pound company. They use this very simple structure, and I think it'll be really useful for you to use as well. So they use a simple structure for everything they do of once upon a time, every day, one day, because of that, until finally, and then there's a happy ever after. So for Finding Nemo, it goes like this. Once upon a time, there was a widowed fish named Marlin who was extremely protective of his son Nemo. Every day, Marlin warned Nemo of the ocean's dangers and implored him not to swim far away. One day, in an act of defiance, Nemo ignores his father's warnings and swims into the open water. Because of that, he is captured by a diver and ends up a pet in a tank of a dentist in Sydney. Because of that, Marlin sets off on a journey to recover Nemo, enlisting the help of other sea creatures along the way, until finally Marlin and Nemo find each other, unite, and learn that love depends on trust. So there you go. That's a 2-hour movie condensed down into a really short structure, a skeleton. And that's what I want you to do now. So that's what I want you to go away and work on for yourselves, for your business. To give you a real life example, I guess I'm going to give you a couple actually. So I'll give you my example of how I would write that for my business. So this is for Moira Sales Consultancy. So once upon a time, there was a small business owner who was afraid of selling. Every day they went out of their way to avoid getting into a sales conversation because it made them feel really uncomfortable and salesy. One day they found out that they'd missed out on a great piece of business because their contact, who they'd sell to, felt that they weren't interested in selling to them when they last met. Because of that, the business owner couldn't afford to purchase a new piece of equipment that they knew could help them work quicker, which would have seen their turnover increase. Because of that, they realized that they needed to get some help honing their selling skills and putting into place a structure and plan for future sales conversations. Until finally, they realized that selling needn't be some scary undertaking and that they actually enjoyed telling stories that help sell for them in a non-salesy way. So again, simple skeleton structure. I could have gone into so much more detail then. I could have gone into detail about why the business owner was afraid of selling, what was this, the great piece of business that they missed out on because they avoided having a sales conversation the last time they were at a networking event with someone. I could have gone into a lot more detail, but what I want you to do is to keep it really, 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 really simple and very non-fluffy, non-fluff, don't go into any great detail. And it just gives you that very, very basic structure to see that where your customer is starting from. So they're afraid of selling, and where they're going to be at the end. They don't mind selling at all. They find it really easy to do now. So let me just read out some other examples that I should have here. Where has it gone? Right. So the Pixar pitch. So these are kind of other examples. So this one here, imagine you're a non-profit organization that's created a home HIV test and you're looking for funders. Your Pixar pitch could go something like this. Once upon a time, there was a health crisis haunting many parts of Africa. Every day, thousands of people would die of AIDS and HIV-related illness, often because they didn't know they carried the virus. One day, we developed an inexpensive home HIV kit that allowed people to test themselves with a simple saliva swab. Because of that, more people got tested. Because of that, those with the infection sought treatment and took measures to avoid infecting others. Until finally, this menacing disease slowed its spread and more people lived longer lives. So it's the central section of your pitch, which is where your services come to light. So for me, my services come to light my second because of that. That's when they, they realize they need to get help, and I help them. In this HIV version, they do it right from the one day. One day we develop something that could help. So the central part of this can move around and can be quite different. So this is a great book that I tell everyone to read. So To Sell is Human by Daniel H. Pink. And he's put in here, it's even possible to summarize this book with a Pixar pitch. Once upon a time, only some people were in sales. Every day they sold stuff, we did stuff, and everyone was happy. One day everything changed. All of us ended up in sales. And sales changed from a world of caveat emptor to caveat venditor. Because of that, we had to learn the new ABCs, attunement, buoyancy, and clarity. Because of that, we had to learn some new skills to pitch, to improvise, to serve, until finally we realized that selling isn't some grim accommodation to a brutal marketplace culture. It's part of who we are, and therefore something we can do better by being more human. And that's why I tell people to buy this book, because this is definitely it's a head nodding book for me. It's about creating a much more human approach to your selling. So what I'd like you to do now is to go away and sit down and come up with what is your Pixar pitch. So certainly think about those first 6 points in terms of how you go out there and tell your story to people when you're marketing. But this part is about setting what is your until finally that you want your customers to have. So your until finally is your December 2021 goal. What is the end point for all your customers at the end of the year? How do you want people to feel? What do you want them to have done? How in that central part is how you're helping bring that to life for them. So the once upon a time is identifying your character, your customer is the start of your once upon a time. The one day because of that and because of that is how they need your help, how you help, and until finally is what is the end point. How do you make people feel at the end of the day? So I hope that's been helpful for you. I think it's a really good exercise to do. It doesn't take very long, and it is a good exercise in editing what you're saying as well. Because I know some people, the first few times they've done it, they've gone into lots of detail, and I don't want that. I want this to be really simple. So keep it simple. And if you want to share them with me, I'd love to hear about them. So I want you to go away and write your story. My story, as I've told it as well, but my aim, the happily ever after of my story is that I want to help double the amount of businesses that I helped last year, this year. So if you want to hear from me, if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can. I've got a really nice free download that you can have, which is the conversations that convert. So it just walks you through how to start those sales conversations. So drop me a line if you'd like a copy of that. But it's been a pleasure talking to you today, and I hope this helps.